All right, next up, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite, if not my favorite version of Jason Voorhees. Maybe not my favorite Friday the 13th movie, but my favorite look, although oddly enough, I prefer the human, story-wise, a human version of Jason over the zombie version. When I was growing up, I find the human version more scary. Zombie version just feels like it's an unstoppable killing machine. There's no real weight to it. With the human version, at least there's a chance to defeat him, you know? With the zombie version, it's always something more, supernatural or magical. I don't know. That's how it felt. Anyhow, visually though, the way his clothes are just rotting away, shredded, his body looks like a zombie. You see his ribs underneath, the exposed, rotten flesh, the ribs, the tattered clothing, the mask that has the propeller damage. You see his teeth through his rotted cheek. Just awesome. The old cuts from when he was killed in part 4. Part 3, cut up top up here. You still have the axe chip in his mask. His spine when he turns around. And again, in the movie, it looks friggin' cool. NECA did an amazing job pulling this guy together. I shared a picture online where I paused the movie at this moment where he buried the axe into that blonde chick's face. And you can line it up to match the on-screen Jason to perfection. I mean, it is incredible. For the price range, it is unbelievable. Your only other option is to spend a few $100s to buy like a custom, $5, $6, $7, $800 custom 12-inch 1/6 scale version. So I think for the $30 price point, not only do you get an incredible looking Jason to fill out the other part 2 to part 12. I'm going to call them 12, Jason X, obviously part 10, Freddy vs. Jason part 11, and then the reboot part 12. Just to keep it simplified, NECA has 1 through 7, and then they have Freddy vs. Jason, and then the reboot, which is 11 and 12. They do not have Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, Part 9, which is Jason Goes to Hell, and then Part 10, which is Jason X. So they're missing 3. Hopefully we can get to them. But today we're going to take a look at this guy. Not only for his price point does he come with a fantastic, if it was another company, they'd probably give you this for $30. But you get an alternate head where in the movie, Tina uses her powers to squeeze the life out of Jason's mask, creating all this pus. You could probably make some really gross, nasty pus to go along this if you really wanted to get it screen accurate. So you can have Jason on display on your shelf as if you just paused the movie where his mask split in half and his nasty looking screaming face was underneath. Actually, I think his mask exploded and then he screamed, but you get the point. This head is the only head that has the peg hole in it. I'm glad they did that. At first, when I heard there was a peg hole, I was worried it would be in both the heads because I don't like the look of it on this because he's got such a cool look to his back. I don't want a hole in there. I guess maybe it could be covered up by the strap, but here's the unmasked regular head, which again is extremely screen accurate. They did a fantastic job with the teeth in the cheek and the mouth. They utilized separate pieces. And then we have the exploding mask version, which is so cool. The mask is so well done. And it looks great. And it just chills there. Look at that. So anyhow, he's also got an exploding, and again, the peg part you just take right off. He's got an chain going around, very well weathered. The shirt is weathered, ripped, and you can see straight through it in most of it, showcasing a brand new body sculpt that I've noticed. I haven't seen this body used or reused anywhere else, but you have an awesome looking zombie type of body. You can even take this top off and the whole body's done. So I wonder if they're going to do something with that later on to reuse that. But you can go in here. I do plan on getting a double and just bringing out the spines a little bit with some coloring. But you can see the articulation point. So this Jason does have really good articulation in the torso here. So you can get some really good bends. And he comes loaded. You get this alternate head. You get a hand to hold the axe. You get an open kind of expression hand. You also get 2 alternate hands to hold additional weapons. Here's one there with the right hand, and then here's a left hand to hold a sickle or another axe, or the best weapon, most ridiculous but best weapon done, the Weed Whacker saw. So the Weed Whacker is done so incredibly well. Look at the paint application here, where it's weathered and it makes it look like the gas section here that would hold the gas is yellowing over time. So well done with the orange and the muck and the dirt in all the grooves and cracks. You get the motor here. Just looks really good. You get the handle. Look at that handle. You got a cord going through. Here's the top of the handle again with all the bolts and screws. The detail is fantastic. And then here's the saw blade, and it does move. And you got, again, more a bolt underneath. Very fine detail. And there's the guard for the Weed Whacker. But again, this Weed Whacker looks incredible. So that's the main weapon I think that people are most excited for. Here's another, I don't know the official name for this, but it's like an extended machete. It's like some type of sickle tool. Here, I believe this is the sickle, right? Isn't that what they call these? Cool looking design, just like out of the movie. It's got nice work done on the handle. Nice coloring. Now we have, and the coloring on this handle, I don't know if you can, the light might be drowning it out, but really well done with the wood grain. You get a big giant machete, nice and clean. You also have a tent spike, which is one of the weaker weapons, but it plays a role in the story. It's got blood covered all throughout it. It looks like a huge tent spike. I'm going to have to double check in the movie. I know it was big, but holy shit. This is a massive tent spike. And it's even got the little end that you would connect to hold the tent down. That's incredible. And then finally you have a big old butcher's knife. And as soon as I saw this, I immediately thought, oh shit, replacement knife for Michael. Because, you know, Michael Myers looks great with a massive butcher knife. I know in the first movie, it seemed like he had a massive knife. So you can actually switch it out. It slides in there easier than I thought. It looks thicker than the black one for sure. But just to give you an example, in hand, Myers can hold a big old machete. Or not machete, but a big old kitchen knife. I love the look of that. That looks friggin' awesome. I don't know. You guys, if you're a Myers fan, let me know what you think. If you have the NECA Myers, do you think that's an upgrade? Because I'm keeping it like that on the shelf. That definitely looks like an upgrade. Yeah, absolutely. Anyhow, going back to, here's what the Myers old one looked like. Still good work on it. Going back to this figure, his last weapon is the axe, which I think looks really well. There's something about this type of axe with a curved handle. They did a good job getting the wood grain and a little bit of weathering that could be just like some runny, subtle blood on there. Or it could be they were going for some type of brown wood stain in the handle. The only reason I say blood is because it's purposefully done a lot up here towards the top. And you even see a little bit of like red sprinkled in throughout the axe. So it leads me to believe it's a little bit of subtle blood, which I do like. You don't need it always caked on there. But I love the look of this axe visually. And again, it's screen accurate from the movie. They did a great job with it. So you take Jason, and his head is easy to pop right off. You can take this off if you don't want to mess with it. This is that nice weathered piece of chain. But since it's iconic and I love screen accurate stuff from my favorite movies, you could pop on this head and you have the iconic look of this. I forget what they call this face. I think it's the frog face. I don't agree with, but I think they did a really good job with this face. Look at that. This eye's all nasty and closed. Yeah, that looks just like the movie. Again, you have the part 3 cut, you have the part 4 cut. They did great there. And his arms go up. Got a good amount of articulation, even though, and here's one thing I love, even though you have this chain there, this is something new that they're doing. I always drop something. This is something new that they're doing for some figures like Frankenstein that I think is a mini game changer for this price point and this type of figure. There's not just articulation at the top, which is common. Usually this neck will be a part of the torso here. It feels like there's now articulation. In Frankenstein, it definitely is there. This guy feels like he has articulation down here in the collarbone area, meaning that this neck part can move around on its own. Can you see that on camera? The neck, so you get that extra movement. So with the chain being in the way, when you go to move his head, with the chain blocking it at some angles, his head can get that extra movement because the neck is given way, allowing him to move some. I don't know how well that's going to show on camera. I didn't want the chain being in the way. I think you can see what I mean on camera. It's real subtle, but it's very effective. So the first Jason, I think, let me look, with double articulated elbows, double jointed elbows, I should say, which is fantastic for the type of poses you can do for this guy. Fully articulated where he can almost pretty much touch his shoulder, his face. That looks fantastic. The detail work all throughout his upper body, his arms. And again, looks just like in the movie. He got a nice gloss on his arms, this exposed skin and flesh and hands, his nails. Just friggin' incredible. And again, he's got that articulation point in his back and his front and his torso, his midsection. So he can get a good amount side to side as well once you get him moving around. And he's got a twist. Actually, he's got a twist at the torso and a twist at the hip section. And now his legs utilize the good, again, I don't even know what to call it, engineering for the hips. Awesome. I talked about that on the MacReady figure. That's the newer style that they've been introducing into the line for, I think, 2 years now, and it is the best. Now, the only tricky spot is they kept material here to kind of hide the articulation, which is cool. It keeps him from being very articulated in the legs, which I don't mind as much. It can't go quite 90, but you can get some articulation there. But when you go to bring it back down, it has a habit of catching and bunching up. That one did pretty good. I think this one is the worst because it has only a little bit of material there, but when you go to bend it, actually this leg does get a 90 degree. So this leg does get a little better of a bend. Can I get this one up more? I can't quite get this one up more. This one looks like it should go. What is that? Yeah, it looks like it should go, but I can't get it. But when you bring it down, you run the risk of pinching that material. See it? See it there above the knee there, the knee bone? So what happens is bring it down and twist it side to side, and it works itself back up in there. So again, instead of bringing it straight down and bunching up right there, when you bring it down, just twist it and it slides right under there. You don't want it ripping off and then being a pain, because then this is glued on here, but it might, bother it down the line. And then you have the tattered clothes hanging over his boots, which looks really good. This is a home run. Now, this figure started releasing, I think, a month ago, and I picked one up at Target online. They've restocked Target several times. Best Buy recently got stocked. I think Best Buy still was in stock for like 2 weeks last I checked. I just want to show them with this You got to put it in his hand a little better, warm his hand up, and then pop it right in. I'll do that in a second, but I just want to show him off with this Weed Whacker saw because it's one of the most coolest but most ridiculous weapons that they have for Jason. Now, every fan I've seen that posted images of him saying they picked him up and found him said he was the best. It's overwhelming praise for this figure, and a lot has to do with the absolutely new, different, and unique all throughout look of this Jason, and just how screen accurate they made him all around. So don't overpay. He's slowly getting stocked, restocked, and stocked some more on other websites, in stores, you name it. Do not overpay. Wait another month or 2 or 3, and he will be a peg warmer, not in a bad way, but NECA keeps these constantly on the shelves, so that way fans can get paychecks, buy doubles, multiples, new fans pick it up, new people see it, maybe people that do collect them but don't shop often, are not keeping up to date with releases. So these figures do stay on shelves for years, and I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. So just give him time to get stocked. This figure is way too hot for them to limit, so that would be really stupid for them to limit. And here's the look of his mask. Very well done. They did this print technology where if you get real close, you can see a little bit of that dot matrix print technology. But at a distance, it works really well, looking like just grime. They did a real good job with this figure, man. There's part 7, Jason Voorhees from NECA. Insanely a high recommend. If you see him, pick him up.